Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. And I'm very happy to welcome you in this webinar with Professor Emmanuel Jostrin, who is a colleague of mine, who is based in Sydney. Maybe I can ask to Professor Emmanuel Jostrin to introduce himself, please, Emmanuel.
Yes, sure. Look, thank you, Michel, for inviting me. So I'm indeed based in Sydney. I was formerly a professor at UTS. I'm still an adjunct there, and I'm faculty with the Business Science Institute. I have a few other affiliations in Switzerland and in France, but I work here, and I participated in the first experiment with the DBA pre-COVID, and now it's time to resume and to create a group again in Australia and in Sydney. And I'm delighted that it's happening.
Thank you very much, Professor Jostrin. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. So I am Professor Michel Kalika. I am emeritus professor from French University, and I am the founder-president of Business Science Institute. And today we organize this webinar for two main reasons. The first main reason is the publication of a book that you have it on your screen. This book has been published by 8 international DBA AMBA accredited. It's about, of course, the Doctor of Business Administration, taking your professional practice to the next level. And this book is very interesting for manager because it will permit you to consider the DBA not only as a degree, but also as a step to the next level in your professional career. And that's why the title of this webinar is Taking Your Professional Practice to the Next Level. And we say DBA for Executive in Sydney. And first of all, I will give you some technical advice. And then we will present Business Science Institute, the program, and of course, we will be able to answer your question. Some technical advice first. Your microphone are off, but you can use the function chat, or you can use the function Q&A to ask us any question and to participate, and we will answer to your question at the end. Okay. So first of all, Business Science Institute, in a few words, Business Science Institute is an academic institution created 10 years ago to meet the demand of manager holding an MBA or an equivalent. And this manager, they wanted to take a step back from their managerial experience, from their managerial practices, and they wanted to reflect. They wanted to write a book, to publish, and so on. That's the reason why we created a Business Science Institute 10 years ago. And we organize, of course, DBA, the challenging program. It's for manager who are working. And we organize DBA in a different format. The first format we are talking together is distance DBA. It's an English program. It's online. We will say more on that in a moment. We organize also DBA à distance in French and in German. And we organize also face-to-face group in different countries. We have for all the DBA, all the program that we launch, we organize, we have a partner, a public university, the University of Lyon in France, and specifically the business school, IAE Lyon, the business school of the University of Lyon, which is quite well known internationally. And, this degree, so it's the double degree from Business Science Institute and also from the University of Lyon. We are very proud to be internationally AMBA accredited since December 2020, and we are still working on that, on other international accreditation. Our institution is dedicated only to an executive DBA program. It's, we have a specialization strategy. We focus only on our program, and we do our best to support our applicants, our candidates. We teach in 3 languages, French, English, and German. We teach online, and we teach also face-to-face. The characteristic of our program is our faculty. Professor Josserand will talk about the faculty in a moment. Quality assessment, because we are accredited, and that's very important because you are working in different company. Responsiveness of our team. And Business Science Institute today, in September 2022, it's around 130 professors. 80 of them are active members. We have today 203 and 34 DBA students currently preparing their DBA thesis. 43 alumni. It means that 43 theses has been defended since 5 or 6 years. Our students, they come from 47 countries, and we open 11 campuses in the world. And moreover, and that's a point that is important, and we will say more about that in a moment, we publish 42 books, and we are the only DBA program in the world to publish so many books in different languages. Last year, we organized a different new cohort in different countries, in different part of the world. So now we are going to tell you some word about the DBA program. Our program is AMBA accredited. It's a very selective program. It's quite difficult to be AMBA accredited. As you know, AMBA is the accreditation initially dedicated to MBA, and now there are around 10 DBA accredited in the world. We publish in the program, we publish 42 books. Do you want to say some words, Professor Josserand, about the book that we publish?
Yeah, I mean, 2 things. I think the first thing is that it provides with the full equipment. I mean, it's really a kit for how to do your DBA. So there's different aspects of method and how to write your thesis. So that's quite unique in the sense that it's dedicated to DBA participants, and it helps them to really go through the process. The other thing that I find really fascinating, I don't know how many of these have been written by DBA students, but that's the fact that whether it's in French, English, I think you have German ones now, is that the participants very often can then, after their DBA, create a book if that's what they want to do and publish in the collection. So it's a unique avenue to have this incredible range of books. And I think these will be examples of books that have been written by participants, right? Is that correct, Michel?
Yeah, that's right. So, that's an example, yeah.
Yeah, and that's for me, that's a very strong strength of the DBA, is that you have the publishing process is integrated in the DBA process. So when you prepare your thesis, you think about what you want to do with it. Do you want to do a book? Do you want to write academic papers? Do you want to embed it in some new way to approach consulting, or just to do maybe a white paper for your company or for your sector? So the way we work with the students is really to think quite early on how the DBA project will integrate with their career path and their next step in their career path. Or if it's just contributing knowledge that they want to achieve, well, then we make sure it happens, and then they can write the book.
As Professor Josserand just said, the students in this program, they have the opportunity to work with the book written by our faculty. And it is the only program, I think, in the world that who publish so many books in English. Of course, how to successfully complete your DBA. So it's explained very clearly how you can prepare the DBA. But then we have a book on the thesis project in practice, how to manage that. We have another book on research method for the DBA. We just published another book on qualitative research in the DBA project. Another book here is on how to analyze the data or how to discover a new theory. And Professor Swan just mentioned the experience of the doctor. Our doctor, they publish a book, our alumni, they publish a book, Doctor Advising Doctoral Students. It means that they give to the students advices based on their own experience. Here, as we said, it's an example of books published by our students. And maybe I can say some word also on the book that we just published, The Doctor of Business Administration, Taking Your Professional Practice to the Next Level. In this book, we explain quite clearly why a DBA is useful today. And then we explain with a different partner how the DBA program is organized. And that's very important for us. We highlight the impact of the DBA. It means that, as I said before, the DBA is not only a degree, the DBA is also a way to create impact, to formulate managerial recommendation. And you can find in this book some advice how to prepare your DBA. I just mentioned the question of impact. That's a specificity of the DBA. It's a doctoral program, of course, but it's a doctoral program that focuses on impact. And every year we deliver a managerial impact prize, which reward the DBA thesis with the most important, with a very strong managerial impact. And this year, last week, we were in Trianon Palace in Versailles Castle, close to Paris. And 3 of our students received this reward, this managerial impact prizes, because their theses really create a huge impact in their different sector. It was one student from Switzerland, another students from Germany, and students from France, yes, who received these 3 prizes. Okay, it's a 3-step program. Professor Josserand, do you want to explain the different step of the program?
Yeah, with pleasure. And also maybe give you a background on what we intend to do in Australia, principally based in Sydney, but based for others as well. As I said before, we conducted the first group that was just before COVID, and that was with the idea of having a really good group. We had a colleague, because Michel, you tend to say manager, but what I find is that sometimes it's more executive than manager. So for me, it caters for both groups. I think you have the prime minister of a country, for instance, in your current students. But I can talk about the Australian group because that's the one I managed. And so the CEO of the bank, the head of health for one of the states, we had a colleague who was a professor of science in RMIT and wanted to gain some deeper knowledge on business aspects. We had a retired, very high level military who wanted to work on sustainability, and somewhere in Sydney, but others were in Melbourne or in Perth or in Northern Territory. So that was, and it was as always with BSI, it's a small group pedagogy. So I think we had 6 or 7 students, and the aim is to keep it small. We want to keep this close community. So I was completely thrilled with the initial group. And again, as I said before, I'm really happy that BSI is back and that we'll be able to bring together, well, new students, new participants, but also connect them with this existing network all over Australia. Before we go into the 3 phases, I wanted to say a few words because we had a few discussions back and forth with Professor Kalika on the format, and we decided to set a format that would be a bit different from what existed before. In other countries, we have every month. That was pre-COVID. So we thought, okay, what would be the best for people who are busy, who have their schedule and want to study on top? The distance DBA is great, but we felt we needed something a bit more hybrid. So what we have created for Australia is the theoretical content. All the lectures will be online, but you will get the benefit of a one-on-one with each professors who are very senior, very high level colleagues all over the group to discuss your topic after each of the 12 modules, the program. So you have 12 discussions with these senior professors to discuss on the next step. So for instance, you'll do research design with me. I'll spend an hour one-on-one with you on top of what we would do otherwise, just to discuss research design for your project. Then you do qualitative research, you do the same thing. You do quantitative research, you do the same thing. So that's very precious because it gives you this customized aspect that you usually don't get in distance program. Now, the other thing is we know that blended learning works best. So what we have introduced, which again is between distance and face-to-face, is every trimester, so it will be 4 times a year, you will have a seminar that you can join face-to-face as you can, or virtually if you want, because you can't be there. We'll do that in a virtual enabled room, which means that when you need it, you have the opportunity to discuss with the rest of the group. We'll invite the alumni from the Australian program to that session, because some of them are still alumni or existing because they're still progressing, finishing. And we have this wonderful session once every 3 months where everybody can ask every question they want. I'll be attending, and I also invite twice a year colleagues who specialize in something that we need. So for instance, could be a colleague who works on qualitative method, and we'll do a half a day of qualitative method clinic. Or it could be a colleague working on quantitative method, and we'll do half a day on quantitative method, so that you always have the support you need to go through your studies. So you do the more heavy stuff online, but then you are not left alone at all. On top of that, you have 1 week a year where you can come to Europe. So it's changed over the years. It used to be in Luxembourg. This year it was in Paris. And we'll know that Michel can tell us what the future will be, but it's always a nice place in Europe. And again, you can do that virtually if you want, but you're encouraged to come face to face. That's a unique week where you meet all the faculty and students all over the world, and you can then discuss and debate and progress your project. It's up to you. You can do it virtually. So it's really, what we call it a la carte program, where you have the best of each world between the virtual and the face-to-face. You can do things that when you need it, when you have time, but you can also have, when you need it, all the support you need. So that's the format for the Australian group. Now, the 3 phases. Obviously, that's a lot about the first phase. It's when you do your seminars where you acquire all the knowledge around research method and conducting a research, because there's a shift in we think about things, and where you define your project. Very soon we'll give you a supervisor, and your topic will emerge, and then you're ready for phase 2 and phase 3, where you do less seminars, obviously, or no seminars at all. You have the support every 3 months. You have the yearly trip to Europe if you want it, or you can do that virtually. You'll meet still with professors as you need, but you'll be writing. And then there's obviously the final phase where you do the final write-up, and then you have the mock defense to help you prepare, and then the final defense. It's very European, In Australia, we don't do formal defense, but that's a European system. So you have to present. You have very grumpy, old professors who will ask you very difficult questions, but you'll be well prepared for it. So usually, if we let you go through that, it means that you are ready. But obviously, it's a demanding journey. Michel, anything else you want to add?
Thank you very much, Professor Josserand, for this presentation of the program. Maybe we can say some word about the faculty. Here you have some example of the colleagues who are teaching, and they come from UK. Professor Josserand from Australia, from France, from the USA. Professor Podolsky from Montreal in Canada, from the States, from Italy, from Germany, or also from UK. We have an international, the faculty member are all internationally renowned publishing professor in the different field of management. And so maybe the strength of the program is to be able to find a supervisor, whatever the subject of the thesis is. You want to say
you're also open to inviting colleagues from not current members if needs be. So it's a really open system where if there's somebody, if you have such a specific topic that out of 100 and how much, like 200 people, you can't find the right one, which already would be quite rare. We often find the right person, but if we can't, then will be open to inviting somebody to supervise in the institution, which is not that easy. In other institutions, we couldn't do that. Like in a classic university, you wouldn't be able to invite a colleague from outside the faculty, outside the institution, to supervise. Well, if somebody has a credential to supervise doctorate in a reputable university, they can do it here. For me, that's one of the many strengths of the British Science Institute. I know that several Australian universities have tried to launch DBAs, and I've looked at the stats. Very few have been successful, and there's publication on that. Actually, it's really interesting to read. One of the main limitations was the faculty. That the faculty was not ready to commit to supervising a DBA project. The people that are listed on the BSI list are people who have committed to doing that because they know why it's interesting. It's interesting in its connection to practice. I remember when we did the AIMBA accreditation, that kept coming back. Colleagues saying, "Oh yeah, but I don't get that in my institution. I want this very strong connection, this deep connection with practitioners," and it means they're very generous with their time because they are voluntarily doing that. To get paid, obviously, but that's not the main driver. They really like the way things happen and the exchange with BSI. So I think that's a very, very important aspect.
Yeah, you are right. It is the strength of a network institute. We are a network organization. It means that we have a very large faculty, and we are able to cover all the topics of our students who are coming from a different country, different industry, different company. So maybe the question that you face is, do you have the good profile? And we have all our process, all our selection process, admission process is online. First of all, you have to send your CV for a very quick review. You have here the address, the generic address to which you can send your CV. And on your CV, please give your current profession, of course, number of years of managerial experience, higher and most recent qualification. And generally, in 1 or 2 days, you will receive a feedback. And this feedback will be Okay, go ahead and you can send your complete application, or you have not the profile. You know, we have two main criteria. The first criteria is in terms of degree. We ask the people to hold an MBA or the equivalent of an MBA. That's the first criteria. The second criteria is a minimum year of experience. We say 5 years minimum of experience, but in practice, our students, they have the 40, 45, 46 average age. It means that they have 15 to 20 years of managerial experience. And managerial experience is very important in a DBA process, because in a DBA, a thesis is based on the experience and also, of course, on concept and theory wrote by the professor. And so we are available now to answer your question. I received several questions, and we can answer rapidly to this question. The first one is, what is the length of the program? The programs, because we are AMBA accredited, the program is a 4-year program. But the average age, the average length of the process is today 3.5 years. Some students, they defend their thesis before. Some students, they defend their thesis later. It depends on the country, it depends on the availability. But formally, the length of the program is 4 years. We have another question, which is, what is the cost of the program? For the 4 year, the cost of the program is 27,500 euro, and you can pay in different installments. You manage that with the administrative team. And you have to consider that this cost is the cost of the program for the first 4 years. And it's integrate, of course, all the follow-up, all the book, all the access to the database, but are not included travel costs eventually if you come to defense or a follow-up seminar. That's okay. We have another question. How the supervisor is identified? Okay. Do you want to answer that question, Professor Josserand?
Michel?
How the supervisor...
I just also had a quick. Can you hear me well? I feel the connection might be a bit. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but you had connection problem. The question is how the supervisor is identified.
Yeah, I just wanted to come back to one thing. Do students have to come for the International Week, or is that if they want to come? I mean, I know it's advisable to come, but Australia is very far. So is it fully virtual now if they want to be
generally
virtual?
As you know, during the COVID, it was online, of course. Now the International Week are face-to-face. But for example, for the Chinese students who cannot travel, we organize it online. So it is an advice to participate to the International Week. Yes. Yeah. Okay. But if the students cannot come, he can attend on distance base.
Yeah, and I agree with you that it's great if they can come, but because Australia is so far, it's such a big commitment. It might be that they wouldn't want to come every year, and then you'd have the cost is really just the cost that you noted in that case. What was your I elaborated on the first question.
The question was, one participant asked us how the supervisor is identified.
Yes. So, well, basically, you'd have your local contact will be a first point of contact to discuss about the supervisor. We'll make sure your topic is ready, but we want to do it early, and then it's a bit of a two-way process. We go back and forth. So you can have a look at the existing faculty, see if there's somebody for me feel, well, that's the right person. It's really a good match. The publication record really is really a good fit, and then we just make contact with them, and it's easy. It can be that you don't find, and usually students would have one or two people that they really feel is a good match out of 200. I mean, that's the case. If that's not the case, then you can, we'll look at your proposal and we'll go into more detail and say, okay, well, we think these 2 or 3 colleagues might be a good idea. We'll send them username. I will say, have a look, tell us, and if you like them, then we'll make contact, and then you have a first chat with them in every case. Once we have chosen in agreement with your person, first chat with them, both will decide whether it's a good fit, and if the collaboration will work, and then we formalize the process. If we couldn't, I don't think it's never happened, but let's say you're super specialized, we can't find the person, it's never happened. But if it was the case, we could also try and find a specialist outside of BSI. But it's always a consensual back and forth process. We ask for advice, we make sure you're comfortable. Once you tell us, yes, green light, I'm happy with this person, then we formalize the contract with them to get you for them to be a supervisor.
Okay, thank you, Professor Josserand. I have a last question on my screen. It's about the follow-up, how the follow-up is organized. The characteristic of the program is that the students are everywhere. The students, they are practitioners, they are very busy, and they work online, and they are not very available to move internationally. So the follow-up is mainly a remote distance follow-up, a remote follow-up. Every month, the DBA students send to the team a very short report about what he had been doing during the month. And then there is a contact with the supervisor. The characteristic is also that the student, they can always have a contact with the administrative support team or with the faculty. All the faculty are always available to answer all the questions of our students. We organize an online meeting for that, and that's a very important issue, and that's the explanation of the very high rate of success of our students is based on the follow-up in the program. Okay, there is a last question. It's about the book. Are the book available online? The book are available both on electronic version and paper version. Yes, they are published on paper version, and we have also electronic version. But the students they receive all the material to work, and really the program is very supporting. Okay, do you want to add anything, Professor Josserand?
Or maybe a quick one on the difference with the PhD, because that's a question I've had before. And I think for me, it's one aspect is you have more flexibility at many levels. All the PhD programs, I know you have to go and sit during long seminars that are face-to-face at the university. And it's even the case for some of the DBA programs. So we wanted to lift that barrier and give access to research to people in another format, one that was more suitable for executives. There are also often mixed bag of people who have just finished their studies, who have no work experience. In the DBA, where you're among people who have had a long tenure in managerial and executive roles, so that's important too. And the third aspect is really the idea is we try to obviously you produce a thorough document and a thesis, but it is balanced between the theoretical framing and the theoretical contribution and the practical contribution. When you do a PhD, honestly, what interest your supervisors is the theoretical contribution. So it can sometimes be very, out there in terms of in very academic. Now the DBA, we want both aspects. So we want this strong connection between theory and its application with practical recommendation that can be used by executives, managers, and organizations in your industry, or we will give a fair weight and the theoretical, and also go to yourself, to what you want to achieve through the DBA. And that's something you work on with your supervisor, whether it's a book, whether it's an academic article, whether you can do all this. And you have even created a program recently to help students publish their first academic paper after the DBA. So we'll support you all the way to get what you want from your DBA, not just to produce a nice document that will be put on a shelf. We want it to be translated into action.
Okay, that's right. Thank you very much, Professor Josserand, for participating to this webinar. Okay, thank you to all of you for participating. You will receive the video of this webinar, and we hope to see you soon. Bye-bye. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye. You have a good day.